Metaphorically speaking, I'm not the greatest of rappers. I pull my ego aside, be the first to admit it. I tell them technically speaking, people be holding you backwards. They say they're keeping it real, but I can tell that you did it. When you're speaking from the heart, you know it's hard to fall apart, boy. From the start I never cared about the charts, boy. You're mad at me for thinking I'ma be the lesser man, but little do you know I probably came up with a better plan. I'm shattering the stereotype, show you how to delegate. The one to say it twice, rather meditate. You're popping bottles with your models when you celebrate, but tell me when you're done, then I can show you how to elevate. Take you to the next level. I'm not a daredevil, just a renegade about to set the record straight and hoping for the day I die so I can see the heavyweights like Hootie, Simone, Basquiat, Holiday. Rappers in the game and what they're rapping to us. Shit they wanna claim that never happened to us. You're thinking that you're great, you're only average, homie. I bet you think you're butterflies, to me you're caterpillars. Man, I'm grown, I don't fuck with your trends, and I'ma live till I'm 110. On what's a man to a friend, what's a soul to a keep? If I don't speak from the heart, then why the fuck should I speak? Check it, I went through hell to find the book of life and read it through the last chapters. Smoke a J like I'm a jam master, just before I crumble like a sandcastle. They don't miss you, the fucking brothers up like Lannisters. Get it? I'm in my own section, sitting streets, I know the pressure. I hate the town, I found graffiti filled with stolen treasures. And then I realized the rules are never changing though. I'm really trying hard to make it though. Cause yesterday was not for me, but nowadays it's all for me. So when I'm moving time, you know I'm moving very cautiously. And even though I'm cautious, I'm known to do shit so properly. After I am done, then boys be like, nah, this is not for me. This cinematic experience brought to you by yesterday was not for me, but nowadays it's all for me. So when I'm moving time, you know I'm moving very cautiously. And even though I'm cautious, I'm known to do shit so properly that after I am done, then boys be like, nah, this is not for me. I take some time with all my reparations. I know, payback time, this ain't for preparations. They know, ain't got time for all your hesitations. And this is rap, boy, this is not a dissertation. Game is up for grabs and you can take it, that's what Aaron told me. You can make it last, cause that's what Aaron told me. Somebody tell the boys that we be taking over. I'll be coming home from all these after parties, barely sober, trench coat, white socks, killing with my Snickers on. I never left the house without my Snickers on. You should know the story before you speak upon me, and you should know the man in which you snitch upon. Dorian's grave, just a man, I'm not a martyr though. I'm sipping champagne with a girl down in Monaco. They never had no breakfast at Tiffany's, but now we got them Tiffany for breakfast.
Jesus Christ. Good evening, everybody. It's beautiful Friday night here in Bergen City. I go by the name of Dorian's Grave, and welcome to MoftMinds. Today we're going to have a conversation with a legend. Pretty sure if you don't know who T. Michael is, then you know what? You should know who T. Michael is. Before I introduce him, I just wanted to say that it's a pleasure to have him in the house for sure. It's not often we get people of this repertoire coming to grace us with their knowledge and give us some gems to go with, especially if we're people who are trying to carve our own ways in a society that demands that you somewhat follow the trend. MoftMinds is here to show you that you don't have to. You could go against it, well, not break the rules, of course, but you could find your own path and then stick to it. A couple of years ago, I took a trip to Stavanger to watch Snoop Dogg play in a concert. Let's just say I don't remember the concert. But I do remember when I took the bus or the airport shuttle back, and I met this man on there, and he just was just there sitting in his entire flamboyance and grace. And I said to myself, wow, okay, if I grow up, I want to be like that. And I think I went over and introduced myself. I don't think he remembers this episode, actually, but this is something I remember very, very well. I knew somehow that our paths would somehow cross. And then fast forward, a couple of years later, I decided to go into music, and the whole Dorian's Grave thing started. I remember when I started that project, T. Michael was actually the first person I had a conversation with about it. And I was looking for inspiration, and goddamn, did I find inspiration. Walked in, and over there were some books that were neatly arranged, of course, at the front desk of his shop. And there I saw a name, and that name was Saul Williams. Saul Williams, by far, one of the best poets of our times. If you don't know who that is, I recommend that you check him out. And when I saw Saul Williams on the desk of T. Michael's shop, I knew I was in the right place. And to make it even better, in the background was a song called The Next Movement by The Roots. And I said, okay. And I said to myself, yes, this is where I need to be. This is a conversation I need to have at the time. And we had a conversation, and it was great. Today, he's here with us to have another different kind of conversation. And hopefully, you guys get inspired as much as I was. And without further ado, give it up for T. Michael. How's it going?
That was an intro.
Super intro, right?
Take it. Thank you.
No problem. All day, all day. How you been?
I'm very well. Very well. I'm keeping safe. I'm keeping myself to myself. Well, not that much, but I'm keeping safe. And things are good.
How's Corona been affecting you in business?
Let's not have that conversation.
Okay, fair enough. Just skip it out.
No. But I just want to say, though, it's been a two-way street.
Okay.
It's been sort of... for the whole of last year, I just programmed my mind because I knew it was going to be difficult. 2020 was going to be difficult from March to December. So we spent most of our time trying to figure out what we could do better business-wise. Because you've got a time now to reflect, you can deflate, reflect, and maybe reboot, So that's what we did. We tore everything apart. And then after that, we started putting things up, and we had a new direction. And this has really paid off. So that's one part of, you could say, the COVID experience, which is good. The other part is obviously spending lots of time at home and not being able to travel doesn't actually do much to your creative juices in a way. But in a way, somehow we have managed to find a balance of not wanting to get out, but more getting into my head, into myself, and figure out what I can do to enhance my thought process, my creative process, and obviously the product itself that comes out. So it's been good. But 2021, I don't know. Let's leave that.
All right. You got it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm somewhat, or not somewhat, I am fascinated by your story, actually. And for those who don't know who you are coming out of Accra, Ghana. How does a man coming out of Accra, Ghana, end up making the style and fashion you're making today? Actually, before that, maybe you should tell us a bit about what was it like? What was your upbringing like in Accra?
I just want to say there's lots of creative people in Accra, a little bit more than Lagos, but there you go. Okay. No, it's cool. We're going to get to that conversation later, I promise. Yeah. Sorry, people from Lagos. Sorry about that. They're going to get me now, But the thing is, I was in Ghana in December, and I was there for 15 days. I didn't have any plan, any agenda. I just knew I was going to go to Ghana and just take it all in. It's been 10 years since the last time I was there, so I was looking forward to this. I was supposed to be going there with my kids, so I thought I'd go first, and then the year after that we go,
Yeah.
So I did that, And boy, what a trip, you know. I just like to say there's like 50%, 57% of the population in Accra or in Ghana is under the age of 27.
Okay.
So you can imagine that that energy, you know, that sort of I can do everything kind of energy. You know, if I put my mind to it, I can make it happen. And that energy is what I really appreciated. It was like there was creativity everywhere. It was, you know, one was hacking into existing systems and computers and sound, and everything was just like, I was blown away anyway. And I recommend everyone, if you got time, to travel to Ghana and check it out. You know,
Even better for you, when you traveled back then, coincidentally, you had the year of the return.
I know it was. This was all sorts out there. I mean, there was.
Did you know that was going on?
Yeah, it was actually, there's whisper going around. Beyonce's around. Like, so what? But Beyonce was around, and in hindsight, you saw she released the video, and that was played.
Right.
Yeah, that was recorded at that time. Anyway, but the point is, there's so many people around, and it felt really good to be there. And I think that's the energy in Accra. But then I always like to say that energy is good, but you also need to be able to take whatever energy you have from whatever country you're coming from and apply it to the way you think and the way you are. Because if you do that and you get it right, there's no one else like you, because everyone is unique, you know? But if you keep looking over, across over your shoulder and in someone else's lane, then you end up trying to be like someone else, and unfortunately, it doesn't really work out well, because that person will always be ahead of you.
Right,
You know,
originality takes the
exactly. You're just playing catch up, and that's not a good place to be. You're being in conflict with yourself. But anyway, I ended up in Bergen because I was living in London, and I met my ex-wife there. And we fell in love, so we decided to move to Norway because we thought that spot would give us the best of starts in life, you know? Mm-hmm. It was a calm spot, very calm spot. There was not much going on. Unlike London, that was so much full of energy. But at that time, I felt, okay, it's good to get out a little bit, you know? So we got here, and obviously there wasn't much happening out here, you know? And I say that with a smile, because I think that is also what helped me to find my way in a way, because I had so much time to myself, and I just realized that I need to find my own path in a way. I need to be a grown-up. I need to find out what makes me tick. I need to do things that I could do for the next 60, 70 years kind of thing, you know. So it's more like a step-by-step thing, and then eventually you find that thing. But I was passionate about clothing. I've always been. I spend all the money I do not have on clothing.
And more expensive than your budget.
Well, you know, there's no money, so you basically just scrape, buy, and then you realize, oh shit, I didn't pay my rent. Okay, let's start again. You know. So I, you know, that was like very, very early years. But then I moved to Norway, and then I decided to do tailoring, and it's because, even though I loved clothing, I wasn't really thinking about designing clothing. I wanted to be the guy that would take your measurements, would make a pattern, would draft it, and make something for you, just you, you know. I wanted to be that kind of person. It wasn't about fashion, it was about clothing, you know, things that would work on you, the right cut, the right proportions, the right cloth. And there's something fascinating about tailoring, you know, the way you make suits, the whole technique, the chalk, the drawing on the cloth, the cutting, the basting, damn sexy, you know. So I decided to do that. And then I trained to do that at the school in Bergen. It took me 3 years to do it. And after that, you know, the thing is, I finished. It seems like I've told this story many, many times before, but I'm sure most of you haven't heard it yet, so I'll say it again, you know. But I remember when I finished school, it was probably around about the 22nd of June or something. So I took the only cash that I had, was probably about maybe £200, equivalent in krona, obviously, and went to London and bought fabrics for it. And then I came back, and then I opened up my studio on the 2nd of July, which was my 30th birthday. So for me, it was very symbolic. It was like, from now on, this is going to be my life in a way. Yeah, that's it. So that's like in 1996.
1996, right? One thing I admire is, I mean, you're coming out of West Africa.
Yes.
And mostly, you know how it is in West Africa.
I don't know. You told me.
No, I mean, you know, it's this thing where when you ask most people what they want to become or what they want to do,
totally.
it's not quite often you hear people say, you know what, I want to become a tailor.
Yes. But I think it's because, you know, I didn't want it to be a tailor at a very early age. I did decide to become a tailor much further on in my life in a way. Before that, I was doing all sorts of things. I would say, and when people ask me, you know, like they're 20 years old, 22 years old, and said, "Oh, I like to be this," and what do you think I should do? I'm like, you got to live your life a little bit. You know, got to be a bit loose about it. Don't focus right, but don't focus too much, because there's so much around you that you can learn from. There's so many things you can sponge in, you know. So by going too directional into one direction is probably not a good thing. For certain people it is, but not necessarily for everyone. So just listen, just try new things. You know, every time you do something wrong and you fail, hey, it's nothing wrong with that. You got so much more information from that to help you probably not to fail again. It's so I understand the lawyer, the doctor kind of thing, but you know, creativity is, for me anyway, I think is the best way of finding out who you are. And the moment you find out who you are, it's easier for you to deal with people. It's easier to accept people. It's easier to let people in, or it makes it easier to shut certain people out.
Right.
So
you decide your own circle, pretty much.
In a way, it's your own kind of sphere in a way. So you build that sphere, and then you invite people in. And if it works well, that's amazing. If it doesn't work well, you know, tell them to go out of your sphere. But the point I'm trying to make is it's very, very important to be focused, but keep your eye out, because there's so many other things you might probably find more exciting than what you're actually aiming at.
That is true. Did you think you were going to change fashion culture right away when you opened your studio in 1996, or was this something you said to yourself, okay, this is going to take a while?
You see, that's a bait. That question is a bait. Because let me explain to you, because I think everyone that decides to work with clothing or any form for creativity wants to be the next whatever.
Right.
And that's why you started, because you believe you've got this thing in you. But I'm sure maybe 2-3 years down the line, you realize that it's not going to happen, you know. So then you leave that stupid dream, and then you focus more on your skills. And then you start working out what you do, and you start getting better with it year after year, you know. And every step you make, it gets better. And then the mistakes you do makes you better. It makes you handle things differently. You know more about the texture, the build-up, the history behind it, the tradition, everything that goes with it. And then, by doing that, people will respect your work. One, they'll respect your attitude towards your work, and then hopefully they'll like what you're doing as well. And the moment they start liking what you do, and then they do have that respect thing going on, then obviously people start talking about you and your work. And that's when you start getting closer to something that you had, you know, that vague, stupid dream you had way back, you know, because now people can come to you and say, oh, I heard about you, and I realized that I wanted to come in and see what you do, you know. And that warms your heart, and then you start building it from there. But yeah, that dream wears out very, very quickly. That, you know, I want to be the next something. It's like 2 years, like, fuck it, man. It's not going to happen.
But then again, the dream does kick in when you do realize that over time your consistency has shown. Because I know you took a trip to Milan.
Yes.
To showcase.
Yeah, see, consistency, I think that's exactly what I'm talking about. Because when you keep doing what you're doing the way you do it, one, you get better at it.
Right.
Number two, you create your own vernacular. This is how you do things. People will see it from far, they understand it. And then it becomes your thing. You know, no one can do as better as you can. So Yeah, and well, obviously we go to the fashion weeks, and we go to Milan, and we go to Florence, Pitti Uomo, and then you meet all these people, and yeah.
Well, tell us about your first trip. What was that like?
Our first trip in Milan was to show the first collection from Norwegian Rain, and that was actually quite fun because we just about to launch the collection. We were smart enough to build a website that was strong. We got all the best of creative people from Bergen, Alex and myself, got in grant people, Bent and Isinova taking the pictures. So we had a strong backing in a way,
Right.
So in a way, when you speak to people and you say Norwegian Rain, they wouldn't know about it, but they go online and check very quickly, and then they will see this beautiful website that was bam, 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 otherwise they'll forget it. But the moment you see that website, that name will stick to you. It's quite catchy if you've seen something that would back it up, So we got there, and we were given this room in the basement at the White Show. And downstairs is where the cool brands are, the cutting edge brands, and that's where they put us. We were like, yeah, and we got this room that was 2 rooms. It was adjoining in a way. You walk into the first room, and the door was on far in on the left hand side. So you walk in, and then you turn, and it's like a U shape in a way. So 2 different rooms, but joined with a door further in. We had 2 styles in our collection. We had about 4 pieces, and that's it. So in a way, we can't fill up the space with the collection. It wasn't that strong. So we had to figure out what we're going to do to be able to get people to look at our collection somehow. So what we did was we hang the 3 pieces in the back room. We put one on a mannequin, on a dummy, dressed it up. We bought lots of jute rope, and we tied it all around the space in there, almost like a cobweb in a way. And then we bought a sunflower and an artichoke.
Okay.
Now, people say, why did you get that? Because we went to the grocery store, everything was closed, and that's what we found. So we bought that.
Was that simple, really?
So that's it, So we created that room, and we had it there, and then people will walk in. This is the thought behind it. Because our collection wasn't big enough, and because our collection was very directional, we just felt that we had to sort of attract the people that thought different. You wouldn't be able to attract everyone else. So most people will look in the room, and they probably think, what's going on there? And they just walk on. And that's what really happened. But once in a while, someone will walk in, and they go, what's going on? What are you guys doing? What's this?
Right.
And they get very excited about it because they're thinking we probably have something up our sleeves. So they want to know what's in the back room and all these questions. There wasn't much in the back room, to be honest about it. That's all we had. But what we had was we had guts, we had stories, we had this honest approach to what we're doing. We got a visit from a Japanese buyer, and he walked in. We had this sign that said Norwegian Rain, Bergen, the rainiest city in Europe. So in a way, that was catching already. So he walked in and he goes, "Oh, Bergen, I've heard about it before. Fjords. Yeah." So a little chat. There we go. "Oh, you from Bergen too?" I'm like, "Yeah, well, not quite, but I live here. I've been here for a few years." And the chat was going on. So building this nice conversation, this rapport with him, and we just thought, okay, this guy's a nice fellow. He just wants to talk to us. That's fine too, because we don't want to talk to me anyway.
Right.
So we did this conversation for a while, and then eventually he goes, "Well, I like what you guys are doing. Can you show me the collection?" So we went to the back room, pulled the pieces out, showed it to him. He tried it on, and he liked it. We're like, okay. At least he's moved on to the next step. And then he was like, "Well, I like to make an order." And that's when it dawned on us, okay, that's like the first order coming through, And then he made the order, and we're still working with this fellow still, many years on. Obviously, they have many stores, but you didn't know that. But yes, that's how it all started out. So that's how we ended up selling our first collection, and our first buyer was a Japanese buyer. Ended up in Japan right away.
When I see your collection, especially the tea kimono,
Yes.
for example, I often wonder, because I think to myself, what made you decide to do that?
Well, it's a question that, when we did the tea kimono, that's like, let me see, we did that 4 years ago. We started 4 years ago, I think. Remember, this is like maybe over 20 years into my my career in a way. So in a way, when you get to that point, you have this, because of your consistency and your hard work, you've got this thing about you. This is what I do. People respect your work. People recognize your work. So that's how it happened. We sold the Rain show from Norwegian Rain to a Japanese store that sells kimonos. Now, the reason why they bought it was because the Rain show was the only raincoat that you can wear over a kimono.
Got it.
Because of the sleeves and the cap.
Of course.
So that's when we entered that world. And then I met the owner of the store, and I met his dad, who was like the director of the whole business. They have many, many stores. They've been in business since 1916.
But the thing is, you're saying it so casually. You
well,
know what
because
I mean?
let me explain it. Let me explain it, because see, it's like, this is how things happen though. You don't wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to look for that guy and I'm going to make a kimono with him. It doesn't work like that. But what happens though is, the harder you work, the more defined your work becomes. And that's why I keep saying that, because eventually, when people look you up, they look you up for a reason. Obviously, it's nice to knock on doors and say, listen, I want to do that with you, and I've got this idea. But it's rare that people that are much advanced than you in both style and years in the business will let you in just because you have an idea.
1916.
You know what I mean? So, but okay. So he said to me, "I love your work. I love your tailoring. I'm really in love with it." And I said, "Well, yeah, thank you, but I love what you guys are doing as well." So that's when we
Right. You built a rapport.
Yeah, and it wasn't like, day 2, can you do a kimono for us? No, you meet them again, you have dinner together, you go and drink some sakes, the whole rapport moves along. And you build this thing where they trust you, you trust them, we're still selling raincoats to them. And it's like, listen, would you like to work with a kimono? We'd like to revamp the kimono. Would you like to do something with it? What would you like to do with it if you got opportunity, And then I can feel like, I'm getting warmer by the minute, but you calm them down, No pressure, I can do this, And I was like, okay, I'll give it a go, I'll think about it, And then you come home and then you cannot sit still, You start thinking about all the things you could do with it. But eventually you realize that you cannot actually do much to it, because once you do that, it means you are actually killing something people appreciate.
You're tainting the tradition of sorts.
Exactly. The point is not to go in there and change everything. The point is to bring value to what already exists. You need to appreciate that culture, So then I decided that, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to design a cloth, get it woven, and use my own woven cloth to design the kimono, which practically we won't change anything about it. We keep it exactly as it is. But the cloth, the design of the cloth, the weight of the cloth, the type of the cloth changes everything. It was a flannel cloth. It's brushed.
Yeah.
So normally you use that for suits. So now we're using that for kimono, and people don't do that.
No, they don't.
Exactly. You're thinking about pinstripes.
Right.
I took the pinstripes and I thought, who needs all the stripes? We need just one. So it became a monostripe.
Oh, okay.
Right? So there's just one stripe in it. Got it woven in Spain, shipped over to them, and we did the first sample, and everyone was over the moon because of that simple change. We got something that everyone could actually be proud of. You haven't changed anything, but you presented a new. It's a new presentation, really.
But for the sake of clarity, though,
Yes.
you know, because I mean, you've been in this game, like, I mean, I don't know. When you speak about it, it's like, okay, just do that, done. You know?
Yeah, but, the grey hairs give away a little bit, so I'm sure you understand that.
Because you know we got people watching in the audience, and of course people at home, you know, who probably thinking, "Yo, T, man, it's not that easy," you know.
No, but and you know, I really appreciate that, because yes, it is not that easy. But that's what we talk about. We're not talking about how difficult it is.
Okay.
We're talking about the things we can change.
Right. All right.
Because we always are in the midst of things that are difficult that we have no control over. You know, for me to sit here and tell you, Charlie, you're not going to make it, don't bother, that's not a conversation. You know, that's me trying to stop people from evolving themselves. It's about the fact that the only way you can change things is by being bloody good at what you do. And that's it. You know, you can't haphazard do your work and say, pull me in, I can do this. So you got to be really consistent and believe so much in what you do that, you know, people will see it. It's contagious, you know. The moment you start doing things, you start talking about things, you get enthusiastic. People go, oh yeah, you know, because it is what it is.
And it works.
It does. Yes, it does. So we did a kimono, and we launched it at PT Warmo, and it's we've done probably about maybe 6-7 collections after that, and every season we put up 1 or 2 new ones.
With the same company, of course.
The same company. Yes.
It's fascinating to hear that a man coming out of Ghana,
Yes.
Accra,
Yes.
is revamping or rejuvenating
Yes.
the kimono as we know it. I mean, when we think about fashion and we think about creativity or creative as a whole,
Yes.
we know networking has a lot to play here, right?
Yes.
How do you, I mean, what advice do you give people? How do you set out when you say, okay, you know, I'm going to go to Berlin? Because every now and then we have this conversation and
Yes.
you're like, oh, I'm going to Berlin tomorrow. And I'm
Yeah.
like, all right, cool. And I'm like, what about next week? Oh, I'm Barcelona. I'm like, all right, man.
Is the food and the wine?
No, it's fact. This is facts. I'm not even kidding. You know, but like, what triggers? What kicks? What's the drive? How do you know exactly? What are you looking for? And how do you know exactly where to go? And not just that. I mean, how do you know which doors to go to and say, this is going to, let me try this guys over here. What's your thought process? And
I mean, I understand the questions, and I can see when you say it, I can hear how difficult it seems. Like what I'm doing seems really almost impossible. I understand what you're saying, but in a way, it's all about the truth, though. And I say the truth because every time you do something, you got to be true to yourself. You know, you cannot fake something and hope it's going to win people over, because eventually they realize that what you're doing is not really what you're supposed to be doing. It doesn't have any. So truth is important. When you do what you do, and there's a certain humility in it as well, there's truth in it. Obviously, I know I'm bloody good at what I do because I work hard at it. It doesn't come naturally. I don't wake up and I get it, but it comes. There's a natural way to it, which means I've got to work hard at it, understand a bit more, know what I want, take away the fluff, navigate this way. People are doing that. Okay, so I'll go that way. And then the moment you start finding that rhythm, everything else seems a little bit easier every time. Now, people will walk up to you. Now, obviously, I've got this beard and the hair, so I stick out. You know, I stick out in Accra, I stick out in Tokyo, I stick out in Norway. It doesn't make any difference. I'm cool about it, you know. But the thing is, people walk up to you and say, "Oh, hey," you know. Even if they don't know who you are, they'll say, "Hi, what you do?" You know, who? And it's not a rude question. It's just people are wondering what I do because they've never seen someone with that.
I mean, your whole vibe is intriguing.
Exactly. So people go, "Are you a professor? Are you this? Are you that? Are you a musician?" And it goes, you know. And then you start talking to them. So in that conversation, they'll go, "Oh, I know this guy that does that. Maybe you should meet him, you know, and that's his card, or that's my card," you know. So most, 99% of the time, that doesn't lead to anything.
Okay.
But the point is, you have created a little network, and then you probably meet that person again maybe 4 years after that, and then he's probably moved on to something else. And you go, oh, do you remember me? We met once, like you said, you met me at Stavanger, you said, right? So, and they would say, well, you know, I've moved over here and we are doing X, Y, Z. So do you want to join in? And that's how we actually got to do a collaboration with Ali Capellino, because we were in Cape Town and we did a project there. We showed the collection. I had 3 films that I did, short films that I did, and we showed it there as well. So when we got back, maybe 3 years afterwards, we got an email saying, I would like to connect you to this design company, and I hope you guys can find a way and do a collaboration together. So that's how things happen. It's a lot of serendipity, but I think everything works because you can actually back it up with skills, knowledge, and finishing as well.
Right now, you just said you were shooting a couple of films in Cape Town. I mean, what got you into cinematography and videography? Where did that even come from? And I understand you do direct most of the stuff you do, because I was in your studio the other day to do a short film. And I remember I went into that studio and I knew exactly what I was going to do. And you just came in out of nowhere. And then Michael, just chill. I got it. So I'm like, okay. I'm like, all right, you know. And, and me and my cameraman were like, you know what? We're just going to let Michael direct the whole thing from here around. And it actually turned out great. I mean, is this a natural thing? Because according to Virgil Abloh from Louis Vuitton, you know, he says that West Africans, or Africans as a whole, are actually born with the essence of conceptual art.
Yes.
Is this something that lies in your DNA, or is this something you picked up along the way somewhere?
You know, there's so many ways to answer this in a way, and I can say I agree with him, but then in a way, what about everyone else? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Facts.
Because I think creativity has no boundaries in a way. Everyone can be creative. All you need to do is to be able to lift your eye up, lift your head up, have a look, and have a look again. And then probably have a look again, because what you see the first time is practically, it's conditioned by your brain. So have a look again to try and break things from each other. You know, have a look again. Take your time to stop and look at things that doesn't make sense, because maybe it will make sense to you if you take the time to look at that. So I understand the fact that certain groups of people will have certain advantage of other people, but I believe, in a way, if you train yourself, you can get it. I mean, many times you walk through a park and it's you know, you can smell the flowers. How many of you actually stop and smell the flowers? You know, most of you smell it, but you're like, I gotta go, boom, you're off, because you haven't got time to do it. But if you took the time to smell it, it would enhance your day just a little bit. You might be 2 minutes late. You probably arrive 2 minutes late, a little bit more invigorated, you know? So I think it's all about that. It's about trying to look at things slightly different and finding the balance between the skill set you need to do it and the way it's been done before, and how you can actually present a new narrative, because that's where the creativity is. And that's what the film is about. See, I don't do films because I'm an expert in films, but I get this sort of shots and this images in my head, and I'm thinking, wow, if you put that together with that and put that together with that, that'd be a cool 2 minutes. You know, my 2 minutes is not about teaching something new or telling a story in a way. I'm taking you out of your everyday configuration and give you 2 minutes or fuck all. Right. But at least it will stimulate you, either the visual senses, any form of sensory perceptions anyway, plus your emotions as well. So after that 2 minutes, you probably will go back to your everyday life, but that would linger on with you somehow. And if you are like me, you will start processing that too.
Right, I think I'm like you, though.
There you go, see?
It's crazy to hear this, actually, because if you go to his Instagram, you will see a couple of really cool visuals there. Which comes the next question is, of course, you can say, for the sake of a conversation, you know, of course we can say, we can look at something here and we can decode that thing, and look at something that doesn't decode and just make this beautiful marriage, of course, you know. But then again, I do believe that sometimes there are things you've seen from before in terms of inspiration, and say, hey, I saw this somewhere. And of course, most of it is originality. Yes, absolutely. Yes. You know, you know, you have Jordan fade away, and then we have Kobe Bryant doing the same thing, right? I mean, who inspires T. Michael? I mean, what do you look at? Is it Spike Lee? Is it?
No, well, Saul Williams is a big inspiration.
Saul Williams?
Yes, he's a big inspiration.
Tell us how you got in touch with Saul Williams.
Well, it's not even how I got in touch with it, but I listened to the music and it made sense because he was, his departure point was poetry, and he was doing black music as in rap or hip hop, right? And the reason I'm saying that is because it's important to realize that he realized that he could do something different.
Right.
He just didn't have to do that.
Followed script.
Exactly. So he changed everything, and then he created his own way of doing his music. And I'm listening to it, and it's like, for me, the beats are off. The way he sings, probably a little bit too high, a little bit too low, shrieking in here and there. I'm like, fuck, that's really good.
It's brilliant.
Because it keeps you on your toes, and then you're listening to it, and then you're thinking, wow, that's amazing. At what point of time do you think he thought he was ready?
Is that a rhetorical question? I'm not
Exactly.
sure.
But the point is, he probably never thought he was ready, but he was ready to deliver it because that is what he got. And if you're going to wait and be good at what you do, you probably end up taking all those quirks out, and you're going to end up with a nice little product, and then you put it on the table, and it's as good as everyone else's product, but it doesn't change anything. So it's that knowing what is out there, knowing what your skills are, and then pushing the limits a little bit. So that's why. And I think Sidney Poitier is amazing as well.
No, thank you very much.
You know,
For those wondering who Saul Williams, do you know who Saul Williams is? No.
they would know tomorrow, no problem.
Tomorrow they'll find out. It's funny you say that, actually, because before I started Slam Poetry Barrigan, I was into Saul Williams was the one I saw. And then I said to myself, I want to do that. You know, well, not that exactly, because to me, you can't really do what I can't really do what Saul Williams does.
But that's a good starting point.
Right. And I said to myself, okay, whoever this guy is, I want to do that.
Yeah.
You know, because he just blew me away. And the poem is called Coded Language. You guys should check it out. It's something else. And watch it when he's doing it in front of a class, not when he's doing it on
stage.
You saw the other one. It's not the same. And also to add, Saul Williams actually played an instrumental role in Kanye West's record, the Yeezus record, if you guys have heard it. That's the reason, one reason why he sounds the way it sounds, together with Daft Punk on that record. And when Kanye West went for his Yeezus tour, he actually hired Saul Williams to fix the lights because everything was super distorted. And like you said, it looks like there's no arrangement in it, but there's actually, the lack of arrangement is actually the arrangement
That's the skills
of the whole thing. Yeah. And that's where everything just makes sense. So I implore everyone to check out Saul Williams.
And obviously, I met him once at.
Of course.
No, but this is good because this is like many years ago. No, but this is good. Because this is like many years ago. Isle of MTV at VAFTA. This is like probably 17, 18 years ago.
Okay.
And there was Carmen was playing that day. There's a lot of people playing, and I was outside watching Carmen play. And I see this guy come in, and then he stops right in front of me, right?
Of course.
So he was like, what are you doing here?
Whoa.
So that's the question. And it took me like a split of a second to get it. And I looked around, and it was like, just me, black guy, lots of white people. So I got it. So I'm like, so we just started laughing. And then I was going to watch him afterwards downstairs. And then that was an amazing concept because I went in with the fact that I'm thinking, I just spoke to Saul Williams, you know?
Okay.
It was brilliant. But anyway, I liked a lot of what he does. I like everything he does, his vibe, his style, his way of thinking. And there's very, very few people out there that I can say, I like what he's doing. And the reason I do that is because he goes against every grain.
Oh, definitely.
Done. You know?
Definitely. And it's even interesting to see him appear in the newest collection of Visual Hablo together with Mos Def, for those who know Mos, of course. Yassine Bey, as it goes by today. So in a way, poetry plays a beautiful role in this, which comes my next question is, what's your relationship with Bilal?
Oh, Why are you asking that?
Hey, I was on Bilal's page and I saw him rocking the tea kimono.
The tea kimono,
and I was like, okay.
Well, it's those connections, the connections that things happen. There's a lot of stuff like that happens, and I can't really tell exactly when that door opened, but there's a lot of those doors, and I don't really talk about this stuff because it's not really important to the bigger picture in a way. He appreciated what I did, and then he used it, and it's magical. But I don't like to drop those names to make my product more interesting.
Oh no, I'm dropping.
So,
I'm dropping the names for you. By
drop
the way.
a couple more times.
I'm dropping the compliments all day. I see Gary Dorden. I see Gary Dorden.
Gary's cool.
Oh my God! I mean, and Gary Dorden is the guy who plays in CSI. Was it CSI in Miami? Or was it New York?
Yeah, the guy with the green eyes or something.
Very good looking man. Almost too good looking, to be honest. And of course, we have Lenny Kravitz.
Yes. Yes.
So you've come a long way. I mean,
Charlie from Ghana.
I beg you. Okay, now we're speaking in African.
Yeah. but the thing is, again, is consistency. These people have so much going on for them, but they also seek the truth. So in a way, they would also find the truth the same way we are looking for it. So somehow my clothing will find the way to them, and it's not about product placement. It's just somehow that it just falls right, and it's and it's not a stylist involved.
It's a testament to your greatness, I think. It's a testament to your consistency and your hard work over the years, I believe, personally. And that's what you just said. I mean, everyone is playing a role, right? And the truth is not there. At some point, they're going to forget their lines.
Yeah. The truth is everything.
Right, and you
sounds very cliche saying it. The truth is everything. Work hard, consistency. It sounds very like something your pops, your mum would say, but it's the truth, though. So, but at the same time, don't lose yourself when you're doing it, and that's what I'm saying. You got to be quirky or not, but you don't have to fake it. If you are, you deal with it. If you're not, you take what you have and you play with it, but never sort of polish yourself to fit into something, because then there's nothing left of you. That's what I'm trying to say.
To talk about the narrative when it comes to fashion, there's this thing where I was under the impression, or at least a lot of people were under the impression that, well, I hate to say it, but people of color, which is something I don't want to say that much, but apparently for the sake of this conversation, I have to. People of color are not given, or people of color only make urban clothing, which means T-shirts, pants, and all that. How do you tackle that narrative? Or is this part of your activism, per se?
Well, I got to answer this right, because I think it's important. The first thing I'm going to say is I don't do urban clothing, but let's go further than that.
Right.
I think what you're trying to drive out is the fact that people are pigeonholed. We live in a society where it's been formed by what's been going on for the last 400 years or 500 years. Certain people with a bit more gunpowder in those days traveled the world and used their gunpowder to basically rob people of their values and their freedom and so on and so forth. Sadly, it's gone on for so long, and there's still traces in our society today. So, in a way, one expects certain things from certain people, and one expects from some other people. What I'm trying to say is the reason why people would expect that from people of color is because they're so narrow-minded. They just equate people of color, black people, to hip-hop music, soul music, whatever. I understand that. But it's not right, because there's so many people doing many sorts of things.
Absolutely.
Urban clothing is amazing if that's what your skill set is. But you should not take someone's skill set and try and put me into that box, because that's what I do. I want you to be able to look at what I do, analyze it, and put me in the right box, even though you can't box me, because my mindset and the way I think is far broader than that. Again, that's why I like people that go against the grain, because if you don't understand it, it's because you're not taking the time, one, to understand it, or you're not intelligent enough to understand it. And it plays back on you, not on whoever is doing that kind of work in a way. But having said that, I believe the best way forward is to find a different way of doing things instead of pointing fingers. I can always complain, and things wouldn't change if I'm not part of that change. So I want to be part of that change. I want to present a whole different way of doing things. I want to show myself in different ways. I do not take away the fact that I'm from Accra, Ghana, Africa, I'm black, I'm a male, I live in Norway. I don't take that away just to present a narrative. Everything else fits with that because that's me. I don't know if I answered it right, but that's how I feel about it.
That's no, you do, and what I feel sometimes is
that a good answer? Yeah,
did you get that, everybody?
Yeah.
Thank you. What I do see sometimes is when we talk about high fashion, for example, we talking Ralph Lauren, we talking YSLs, we're talking Louis Vuitton, Versace, and the rest of them, and of course, I want to say Rick Owens. But I love Rick Owens so much that, you know, I like his style, obviously, you know, but then comes people like Kanye West into the picture. And we're not talking about Kanye West today, you know, but it's important to mention for the sake of this conversation when it comes to battling that narrative of, oh, you're a black guy, you can make that, you know. People put you in that box right away. Like you said, you listen to hip hop, he's into hip hop, so you have no business in rock music, for example. And of course, you have Saul Williams, who's just say, you know, screw that, I'm gonna do my own thing. I don't care. You know, what I'm trying to get at is, I look at what you do, and it's high fashion. Did you, from the jump, know that it's gonna be high fashion?
Oh yeah, that's the whole point. I mean, I wasn't in to do high fashion. I was in to do the best I could do.
You didn't label it. You just wanted to do it.
Yeah, I was going to do the best I could do in my field. You know, I wanted to get the best of fabrics, best of cuts. I spent time on the pattern making. I was tweaking things. I did the right fitting. Took time for it. There's no half stepping in a way. You know, if you're going to do it, you got to do it right. And that's the point I'm making. It's not about the labeling of what you do, is about how people perceive it, you know, and people perceive what you do as top-notch if it's top-notch.
Right.
Just because you slap top-notch on it doesn't mean it becomes top-notch. Nope. Most of the names you've mentioned do some good stuff, some do some shit stuff in between. It doesn't make any difference to me. But I believe what I do is brilliant because that's the best I can do right now, and I keep pushing it every time. You know, I don't rest and say, okay, now I'm a high fashion designer, you know, so I'm going to sit back and chill a bit. I don't, it's not what I do, you know, it's, you know, it's, I find it very difficult to talk about this without comparing other people, but I don't do that. I don't bring other people into my conversation. Like I told you guys before, it's not about other people, it's about me and what I want to do.
Right. And
I keep pushing it and keep furthering my ideas and my concepts. How people perceive it or not, it's really irrelevant as long as I'm true to my ideas and my stuff. And I hope that you know, young designer in Lagos, Ghana, Accra, in Mo i Rana, or somewhere down in the south in Devon in England, it doesn't make any difference because the point is, you are probably fighting against so many out there that's doing far better things than you. And if you start comparing yourself to them, you're never going to get ahead.
And that's more the point I was trying to make.
Exactly.
Because I feel like a lot of people come into these things, and it doesn't have to be fashion. Fashion is just one aspect of it. And I'm talking about just daily, regular life.
Yes.
You know, where they're going to something. And rather than focus on what they are doing, it becomes, oh no, but that person is this. And you were part of Meeting of the Minds last year.
Yes.
And there was a lot of questions coming up. And what we saw was a lot of people who, I felt began to compare their situations with another person's situation.
Yes.
And of course, we know we have structural racism and whatnot. We know that. We know that. We're aware of that, you know, but at the same time, I felt like it makes you lose focus.
Yeah, so the signs that I put in ahead of you, and it's like roadblocks and everything over there, it just throws you off because, and it's there for a reason. It's there to throw you off so you don't focus. But just, I mean, it doesn't really make any difference. You just have to be skillful at what you do, whether you're a doctor, you're a lawyer, you're a nurse, you're a carpenter, you're a builder. It's irrelevant. You've got to be good at what you do and do it well. So when you go home after work, you're thinking, oh, cool. Where's a cup of tea? Where's a beer? You know, that kind of thing. Enjoy it. And it's just about that. And obviously, if you're a creative person, or any kind of job that you could help you change the narrative for people behind you, then it's best for you to use your abilities to do that.
Do you ever look at your accessories sometimes and say, man, I wish I could do more in shoes, you know, and just like, yo.
One could always do more, but more is never better, you know?
You know, or do you just, you know, I don't know. I don't know how this works in your world, of course, but I'm just trying to see.
I'll explain it. I always, before I start doing whatever, you know, if I decide to design a pair of shoe, there's no point to do it if I'm just going to do the same thing that's out there already. It's not about just having a shoe in my store with my name on it. You know, it's about understanding how shoes are made. So I will start from the fundamentals. I will go to a place where I'll learn how to make shoes. I will learn how to make the patterns for shoes, learn about the leather, do the research on the various types of shoes, the platforms, the soles, the stitching, the welting, all of that. And then when you've done all that, you've got all that information, then you can say, okay, so which way should I go? How can I create the shoe that I want that will be unique for me? Obviously, most shoes have been made, you know, we've got so many types of shoes in the world, and it's very difficult to come up with something totally new. Right. So 9 out of 10 times you would do something that already exists with a little bit of tweaked on it. But that's fine too. But that's how it works. So by the time it starts with one idea, and then halfway you think, oh, nah, it's not going to work. And then you keep navigating from left to right. And then eventually you find that idea that makes sense with everything else you have from before. Because there's no point to make a pair of shoe that wouldn't work in your world from before, because everything is connected. It's all that you have a vernacular. So that shoe would when people see it eventually when it's out, they'll look at that shoe and go, yeah, it makes sense. You make a shoe like that. You know?
It fits the story.
Exactly. So when that shoe's done, I probably would never make any other shoe anymore because I've got that shoe and that's fine. Okay. You know, or I could do various shoes because I will get into that space again. I'll start thinking. But nothing is done just because I want to increase the numbers. You know, I wouldn't make a new cut of a suit just because I want 4 new cuts of suits in my store. I feel if I get a cut right, I can sell it for many years because I can tweak and adapt it to every customer, and it's in a way, you know, the way people look at fashion design from outside, it's very sort of is what you see on sort of Instagram, quick pictures, you know. But if you meet someone that's very creative and working on various projects, and the designers and the artists, it takes time to develop a form or a style, because you've got to be true to yourself. You can't just put anything out there if you don't believe in it. So, you know, I like to believe that the fashion world is twofold. You know, the people that consume fashion and the people that make them, right? The people that make them usually don't look like the people that consume them. It's like two different kind of people. You know, they probably wouldn't, you know, you probably wouldn't know when you see them that they actually work in fashion in a way, because it's not about being flamboyant. It's about being true. So they probably have a pair of shoes on they've had for maybe 10 years, and that's so comfortable, they're not going to change it.
It's like a Michelin star restaurant chef is not making ducks when he comes up after work, It
So
doesn't make any sense.
So yeah, so in a way, it's I think for me anyway, that's the beauty of creativity, because there's a film by Wim Wenders about Yoji Yamamoto.
Oh,
and
there's
there's a beautiful scene where he was talking about back in the day when you went to a party, you walk into the house, in the corridor where the coats are hanging, you can just tell who's here. Because one had maybe one coat, one wore. This is your coat. So you can go, oh, she's here, he's here, before you walk in, because that is, And what he's trying to say is, in those days, you put yourself in what you did and what you wore. There was a certain link between identities in a way. Today, obviously, we wear clothing for different reasons, but that's fine too. But I like that a lot, because it just brings the whole idea of being a designer to someone that actually sees things and tries to create a new narrative or problem solve something. Very simple, and that's just amazing.
Before we jump into the next question, I wanted to say that this series you're watching was inspired by a series of events that happened last year in the United States of America, of course, where some innocent people were killed, and of course there was a voice that needed to be heard, and I said to myself, or we said to ourselves, yes, we need to be a part of that voice, or at least spark a new kind of voice to enhance some form of change. Now, however, I think I had this conversation with you before about how we need to focus on the positives and see, okay, people use the word privilege a lot lately, and lately I began to redefine the word myself and say, I think privilege is what you have going for you. If you can see it from that perspective, then you don't have time to look at someone else and say, oh, they got that job because they're more privileged than I am and all that. Once again, let's not forget, we know there is racism. We know that, absolutely. But it is what it is, right? So listening to your story, you found your calling, and you said, you know what, this is it right here. Let's do that. Nothing's going to stop this. We just keep it going. And of course, in moderation, which is kind of beautiful to listen to, actually, because I think everything in excess might be too much.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with being excessive either. But if it works for you, yeah, do that. I just feel like I speak volumes when I tone it down. So,
will we ever see a T. Michael flagship in Accra?
I get a lot of that question, and
I'm thinking of going to Ghana.
Yeah. But the thing is that it's not about saying yes or no. It's not about that. It's about when it feels right, it will be there. So that's all there is to it. I keep saying we and I, but it's because I have two brands, and one is me and one is myself and Alexander. So there's two different things happening. So sometimes I we and I. But the point is, it would happen if the timing is right. And it's not about whether I want to do it or not. It's just, you got to get it right when you do it. And when I mean right, it has to be, we opened up a store in Tokyo, and that was right because we found the house. We spent about 3 years looking for that space.
Okay.
Because it wasn't just about putting up a store and put clothing into it and say, come and get it. It was about finding the right spot. And we found this old house in a place called Kanda Sudacho, which is the eastern part of Tokyo. It used to be where the main city center used to be back in the day. So we found this house, and that house is one of the houses that was still standing after the Second World War. It's one of the 30,000 houses that survived the war. Old house. It's about 3.5 meters wide, and it's 17 meters long. because it's like 2 houses in one. So it's very narrow, but it just goes on forever, and it's like 2 floors.
Yeah.
And the moment we saw it, it was like, yeah, that's it. That's the house. So I designed the house, and then we did it up, and then it felt like the right spot for us to be. So eventually, when I find that spot in Accra or somewhere else in Ghana,
right.
that then I'm sure it will come up, and probably people go, why did you put it there? Because it felt right to do it, and it felt like this is what you're supposed to be doing.
How did you meet Alexander?
It's a very good story. Again, I've said it so many times, but I
haven't heard.
No, but I think it's very important because we always keep saying, you've been in interviews and you've said things many times before, but you should always remember there's like another millions of people that I've never heard you say before. So you have to say it with the same enthusiasm in a way. So, well, it's important, Otherwise people go, that's the same story. So, but the thing is, Alex walked into my store many, many years ago, and I think he bought maybe a couple of shirts then. But I remember him, and then he walks in. I say hello to him, and then he came in once, and then he said, "Listen, I have this idea I'm working on my master's project, and it's about making a kind of a raincoat that I'm working on. So, would you be interested in being part of this project?" And I'm a polite person. So I said to Alexander, well, it sounds like a good idea, but, it probably is not for me. But good luck, So Alex left. But the thing about people that are persistent and have a mission, they always take the negative news and turn it into positive news, which we do every time. So he thought, he's a very nice fellow. He shook my hands when I came in, so I'm sure if I go back, he will welcome me back and we have a conversation, And for me, that is amazing because that's how I think as well. There's never a door shut. It means you go find the right key, So comes back, and then same question, and I'm thinking, oh, this guy's not getting the hint, huh? But he came another day, and we went to there's a coffee store on School Street called Capello, and I went there to have coffee with him. I don't drink coffee, but we call that coffee. He doesn't drink coffee either, by the way. So we sat down,
Fair enough.
And the thing is, and I think that's why we are working together, because instead of me telling him, listen, this is not going to work, because I started talking about what one could do to create the best raincoats. And then we just started having this conversation. So when I say this, he would say that, and I say this. So we sat there for about 40 minutes, and it's like, so in a way, we've never agreed to work together. It's just we started working together, if you know what I mean. It wasn't like we're going to work together. It's just sort of built up from there. And that's the energy that we have today as well, because it's not like, okay, we want to open up a store in London. What do we do? It's like, if we're going to open up a store in London, how will we do it? And then the conversation starts from there. And within that course of that conversation, you start finding solutions as well. And then it happens. So that's how we met.
What's the relationship like?
It's brilliant. It's one of those things where it feels just right, because we are on the same page and we're looking for the same thing. It's not about trying to get... it's not about selling as many pieces as we can. It's about getting the right people to understand what we do so they can buy it and be happy with it, And we are very, very, very specific about the qualities that we work with, the level of the quality in our clothing. So in a way, it's never been an argument about how good it should be. The argument will be about where we should keep the limit. You shouldn't go over that. We should just keep it low. So it's been brilliant. I think it's our 13th year now. So yeah, as you can see, it just works really well.
Well, at the times, because I met him and he's super humble guy. Just it's just amazing to just see him and his whole thing. You could tell this guy knows what he's doing for sure. But at the times in the past, maybe because I feel like when people come into these things to create, a lot of people now I'm saying this for the benefit of people watching and people trying to learn.
Yeah. Mm.
A lot of people tend to come. Do you feel like people come around you sometimes to feed off your energy?
Oh yeah, I mean, I have a store in the middle of town, and I'm welcoming. So obviously you get people in, and yes, obviously certain people come in and you will think, okay, that's enough now, you know. But at the same time, you know, I believe that if you overstep your first time, you probably wouldn't be able to come back again.
Right.
It's like, you know, and sometimes people ask you for things. And I also believe that if you actually let time tell, then whatever someone asks you off, if it's not a good idea, it will just fizzle out as well. So in a way, if you come in with good energy, you feel it and you come back again. If you left and you felt that energy was just, I don't think you come back again. Because
we see, as I personally see this sometimes where, and it's something I tend to struggle with, actually. Maybe you can actually help me with this here. When people see you doing so many things and it's what it is, you know, and I think from the outside, probably thinking, oh man, what a adventurous lifestyle and everything. Yes. But, you know, is there something about like how mentally draining it can actually be in the reality of things, especially when you got kids, you know, for example.
Yes.
Are there times when you've been in that zone and you just like, how do you handle that particular kind of thing?
I'm one of those lucky few.
Right.
Let me explain, because I don't play to anyone's tune, and I've said this before, and I keep saying it, and I think that's the key of everything. I'm not rude, but I wouldn't say yes to something if I don't want to be part of it. You know. So in a way, everything that I would do it because I actually want to do it, and that gives a lot of energy. That gives a whole lot of energy. I mean, you can spend 20 hours doing what you do and it feels right. But at the same time, spending 5 minutes doing something you don't want to do can kill that 20 hours that you felt that was so good.
Okay.
And that's what you should watch out for. You know, try not to put yourself in situations that you don't want to. Even at a very, very early start, people go, would you like to do this thing for me? And in the beginning, you think, oh, no, not that one. And you want the money. So you would say, yes, you would do it, you know, and then you do it, and then you give it to them, and then you probably don't feel that energy anywhere. But you know, it's early days in your business, and then you need to pay that rent.
Right.
You know. And just to mention, I mean, we've talked about how things are and the nice flow of things. But trust me, I've been through all this business before, and I know how difficult it is to be able to pay your rent. I know how difficult it is to pay, to put food on the table. I understand all that. It's extremely difficult. But at the same time, if you've got this mindset that this is something I will overcome, then you put the energy and the work needed to be able to do that. And it's not about bullshit of, and it's not me saying you think about it and then you can manifest it. You got to work and do it, you know. and so I understand that. So you know what I'm trying to say is, it's not easy, but then eventually you find the balance of you being a public person and a private person. You know, because when I'm at work, people can come in. I'm a public person, you know. When I'm out, I'm not having a meal, I'm having a drink, I'm a private person. And sometimes people will overstep, but then you should try and sort of make it fizzle out in a very simple way. Am I making any sense?
Oh, for sure. I'm just soaking it in. You know.
No, I'm just a general question. So it's very difficult, but I understand very well what you're saying.
Right.
Because early parts, you know, my kids are much older now, so I don't have to run home from work and pick them up from school or be home when they get home from school. But I've been through all that. So I know how draining that could be as well. But the thing is, when you have the right attitude, the moment you pick them up, it's like, oh, this is good, because then everything else doesn't matter anymore. You know, when I'm at work, back in the day, my son would come in. And I remember my assistant, who I still work with, she's been there for 15 years now, she would say, it's amazing to watch you when your kids come in, because then everything else just like
Switch.
it's gone, right? And that's the whole point, because they're going to be there for maybe half an hour. I need to give them proper half an hour. You know, I cannot speak to them while I'm listening to something else or doing something else. So you've got to be focused, and it works with everything. You've got to be you're going to be there. You have to, it's all about the truth. Again, truth.
When you started out in 1996. 96. Let's be.
Yeah.
Sounds like a long time ago.
It's a long time ago, man.
I mean, since you were there throwing shades at Lagos, Nigeria, I might as well just throw you a shade back.
Well, coming over.
Well, actually, it's two shades.
Is coming.
Shade number one, 1996, was actually when Nigeria won the gold medal in Atlanta in football. Oh, where was Ghana?
We're just eating some fufu and jollof, please.
And of course, he knows very well that Nigeria makes better rice than Ghana does. This is facts.
Okay.
1996 is a long time. Okay,
It's a long time.
It's a long time ago.
Long time.
That's crazy. How many years ago is that?
It's a long time ago.
20 years ago? No. No.
25 years
What are we doing here, guys?
It's 25 people.
And your daughter, who I've met so many times,
Yes.
and I've worked with her, amazing energy. 96 is when you opened your studio.
Yes.
And she was
6 years old.
6 years old.
And that's the same year my son was born. So I look at my son, I look at my business, I'm like, it's good.
But in that early phase, with two kids, and your son was born right that same year, and that's like another thing going on over there.
It's very simple. I had an amazing partner, so things made sense. We supported each other. We did everything we could do to make it work. And it's the beautiful thing is, now I sit down with my kids, we had dinner, and then we drink whiskey and we chill, and then we talk about all sorts of things. And it's nice to hear them talk about things from back in the day, and my son will say, well, you're always calm except when you speak to UPS. Then you get freak. I'm like, those people, because they never deliver on time in those days,
Right.
But they remember this in a very good way, and I think that's the most important. It means I've done something right. So I've managed to keep my focus somehow on both things. It's not just business, but also because I think it's important to go home and just calm down, go to the kitchen, cook some good food, eat with the family, and when they go to bed, I get back to work.
As an African dad, are you a typical African dad?
I don't know what that is. No. You see, I can imagine what you're saying is, do I try and throw my weight over my children and decide for them? No, I don't do that, because I believe they're individuals, and I believe they reflect on the kind of person you are. So from day one, they look at you, what you do, they pick it up slowly. If you're a rude person, they will have rude tendencies. If you are, you speak very clearly to them about what they should do and not do, they understand that. But in a way, I believe that kids, the best way to bring up kids is for them to see what you do than to tell them what to do. Because the moment you start dishing out parental advice, it's like the earplugs go in. You all have been kids before. Anytime your parents start telling you things, you're thinking, But the moment you end up in a situation where you think, oh, that's what my mom did, that's what my dad did, then you try and emulate it, because that is natural way of learning. You pick up things as you go. And if you haven't done that by the time they hit 10, you're in trouble. It's been a good run for us. It's been good.
Well, I'm taking notes for sure. I have 3 kids, by the way, and my kids are amazing when they are.
But just see, there you go. See, that's it. That's it. That's
they're
done.
when they are. What you want me to do, man? I'm changing diapers every day, right?
See, that's it. But what I was going to say though is the fact that I never felt like I was the parent, the father kind of thing. It wasn't about that. It's about me being able to be the best person that I can for my kids, to make sure everything felt right in a way for them. You tell them not to do this, don't do that, and it's not about screaming about it, but explain why they can't do that.
If they listen.
Well, the thing is, like I said, if you start early, it becomes this kind of thing you do. It's like, let me tell you something. If you do that, that's going to happen, and that's going to happen. So don't do it. And you've said it once before,
You see, that's what I'm saying. You've said it once before.
Exactly.
That's the African dad thing kicking in, right?
Well,
you don't want to say it twice.
No, yeah, well, maybe. But the thing is, when I say it once, then I'm thinking that's like the basis of our conversation. Because next time I'll say, well, why did you do it? And I go, because and I give you excuses for it. But I'm still like, but you're not supposed to do that, right? And they're like, and they'll try and make it fly. But eventually, when they hit like teenage years, that's when the fun bit starts, because most of our kids will drink. Most of our kids will probably end up doing something else, probably do drugs or whatever. But the point is, it's still a home. You're still a father. Your partner is still a husband or a wife or whatever. So home is where they should come to. Home is where they'll feel safe. But when you shut that door, then most likely it's going to go wrong. So it's not about them being experimental. It's the fact that there is nowhere to go and think, oh shit, I did a mistake. But don't listen to me, guys,
Advice taken. I will give you that call in about 15 years and we'll see.
Yeah, like, child, I'm busy.
You're busy, okay. All right, cool. Toss them over to you as apprentices and that's it. We probably solved that problem. So, but before we wrap up, I want to ask, what's the future for T. Michael? Norwegian Rain and the T. Kimono, for example? Or do you take it one step at a time?
Oh no, there's so much going on, but it's not about having a blueprint and say we're going to do that in the next 2 months and the next one, the third month. But it's about having so many ideas and let them actually come to fruition when it's ready. When it's right, it's right. So we just work with them systematically. We worked on this watch collaboration for about maybe a year, and we just launched it. And so it took a year to finish that collaboration. It's not because it takes that long to make it, but it just takes that long to feel like now we're ready.
Where can we find that watch?
That's a trick question. It's sold out. 5 minutes we sold out, by the way. So, and again, I'm saying this because I'm really proud of it, because this is something.
Guys, come on.
Yeah.
Man.
This is not something we do every day. We decided to collaborate with Arrangementet. It's amazing watchmakers from Italy. They've got this precision watchmaking, and they have this industrial style to it, and they're really good at what they do. And the thing is, every time they do a watch, it becomes almost iconic, So when we decided to do this thing with them, we're thinking, okay, so now we're going to do it and no one will want it. And then, we will just mess up the whole vibe. But we thought, never mind, let's go in. So we went in with the same vibe that we do with everything else. We thought they made watches. They count the time and tell the time. We do rain, weather. And the first thing that came to my mind was time, weather's everything. So that's where we started from. So practically, the concept was about weather and time and how things age within that. Since you cannot control time and you cannot control the weather, let's find something to do while we're here, And then we managed to find a good concept, a good way of finishing the concept as well. And we put it out, and it was out. It was gone.
That's not an easy thing to do.
And that feels really good because, when we sell raincoats or I sell suits, I understand that it's taken me years to get to that point. So, we sell a bit, it's brilliant. But to sell out your watch on the first collaboration in 5 minutes, that's something else.
I can see you're proud of that, man.
Very proud of that.
Yo, the thing I love about this conversation we're having right now is because I love the way, we're so loose about it, but still try to hit the points, because sometimes we see some of these things and they tend to be very serious for no reason at all. I never really got that, I mean, we're in the presence of someone who's been in this game for a bit. I can tell, like, how comfortable you are just like dishing out information, like, yeah, just call Barcelona. It's cool. I'm there,
This is what I do. I'm just me.
Nah, it's inspiring to watch. It is inspiring to watch, and I'm grateful, very grateful. I am African. We talked about this before. I am from West Africa, and where I come from, age matters. Age really matters. If someone is older than you, even by a year, I mean, if you got an older brother who's a year older than you,
you're in trouble.
You can't you can't even look him in the face. My brother is, how old is my brother? My brother is 4 years older than me, and I'm scared. He's the only man I'm scared of. Like, literally, I know he's gonna kick my ass for sure. No, but just the thing is, where we come from, we have to show respect to people. Early on, I name dropped a couple of people when I said Gary Thornton, when I said Bilal, when I said Lenny Kravitz. The reason I say this is because where we come from, it is important to highlight certain things and show and say, wow, you've done that. Because over here in this community, I feel like I get it, everyone wants to be humble and everything, which is fine, but me saying those names is me acknowledging and saying, that's dope. That's inspiring. If Bilal says, hey, Doran's Grave, I heard your record, man.
Yo. Well, see, that's the thing. You never know, man.
Man, I think I'm done, man. That's it.
Know.
I'm out,
Know.
And the watch selling out is great. And I could just say that. I'm actually working on something myself. Hopefully it sells out the same way yours did. I hope so. It's called Anti-Generic. And we'll see. Only time will tell.
Cool.
Thanks for coming out. Thank you guys for,
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me over.
And do your thing. Shout out to everybody watching from home. I still go by the name of Doran's Grave, and we shall actually be here by next Friday together with Francine and Banza from Burundi and Belmo Hansen by way of Norway. They'll be talking about their arts. Francine just wrote a book, actually, and it's the first time we've seen a black superhero, and it's a woman, and it's a big deal, I think, and it was written during the Corona times, and I know Belmo Hansen is going to be having an exhibition soon, and they'll be here to talk about such things. We're here to showcase and highlight people who are actually going against the grain and work in a positive direction towards achieving it, as opposed to sit down and complain. Yes, we know racism. Yes, we know it's there. Yes, we will highlight it. But I think sometimes it is better to highlight people who are actually going forward as opposed to being stagnant and saying the same things all the time. Thank you for tuning in to MoftMinds. I will see you next Friday, God willing. Good night.